Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Everybody seems right on time. Fantastic. Thank you for joining us today for PantheraTV Live. My name is Jamie Zachariah, Communications Digital Content Manager here at Panthera. And today's episode is especially wonderful and a nice treat for a lot of you fans out there because we are going to be talking to the children of the legendary Dr. Alan Rabinowitz. Alex and Alana have agreed to graciously talk to us today about their father and his legacy and what it means for Panthera. So I'm going to go ahead and invite them in. Just seems to be a little slow. While we're waiting for the connection to work, why doesn't everyone tell me where you're logging in from in the chat? Oh, you're welcome, Saloni. That's very nice of you to say. Let's see. Let's try that again. Hello, we have people coming in from India, from the swim team. Hello, New York City. Oh, another New York State. Hello. Hi.
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 Sorry, we were having some
connection issues.
Yeah.
That's okay. It wouldn't be a Instagram Live without at least one mishap.
Right.
Thank you for joining us today.
Of course, it's
Yeah.
our pleasure.
It honestly is.
A lot of our audience are big fans of your father, and I think they're really excited to commemorate him. We're only 2 days away from his birthday.
Yeah, that's correct.
So we're really excited for this. But why don't you guys just introduce yourselves to everybody watching?
Yeah, of course. So I'll go first. My name's Alana, and I'm a freshman at Barnard College, and I haven't declared my major yet, but I'm thinking of either majoring in neuroscience or biology, and I'm on a pre-med track.
Yeah. My name's Alex. I'm a senior at American University, and I'm about to graduate with a double major in political science and history. So.
Very cool. So obviously, I'm sure you've heard more than your share about Panthera. You've been involved in, to some degree, Panthera extensively. What makes you happy? What makes you so proud that you have this connection to Panthera and your father's connection to it? Can you talk about that a little bit to us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, in terms of our father's connection, it kind of really just started with his childhood and his background, how he grew up with such a severe stutter that he wasn't able to talk to anybody, and the only people, or I should say the only things he was able to talk to were animals. And that's kind of what endowed him with this sense of wildlife conservation, kind of the origin of why he wanted to start Panthera in the first place. And
Yeah, and so I think the most important thing was that he wanted to encourage people to live on his legacy, and he wanted to do that through Panthera. And I think one of his most recent and interesting projects was the Jaguar Corridor, that many people know of. I and and I think that was just like his goal in life was really just to encourage people to kind of think about the environment and protect future big cats in his stead when he's not able to.
And he's definitely left quite a legacy here at Panthera and around the world. His name is synonymous with wildlife, but also with adventure. There's a lot of stories of him out in the wild. I'm sure you guys have had stories of him. They call him Indiana Jones. Would you say that's a fair nickname?
Yep, I've definitely heard of that.
So what do you hope to see for Panthera and for the future of Panthera?
Yeah. Well, I would hope that kind of what my father leaves behind and what Panthera continues to do is kind of ingraining these big cats into the identities of where they're located, where we want people to think that big cats are synonymous with their own identity, because without that, we're not sure if there is a sustainable future for big cats. And we want these species. I mean, it sort of speaks to the foundation of why we want to save these species in the first place. They're charismatic and they're symbols of what we are and what we want to be. They're symbols of strength, they're symbols of power, they're symbols of speed. And in the end, we need them here on this earth, and I believe that that's what my father wanted to leave behind, is where we believe that this earth is the earth not because of us, but because we live here with the big cats.
Yeah, and I think continuing off of that, what Panthera's foundation, like Panthera's really helped just push forward my father's vision, and his vision, it was really at the time when he co-founded Panthera, not a lot of people thought about the endangerment of big cats and the severity of what would happen if they went extinct. And I think it's really important to show how important it is that how big cats affect the environment, and like also not only the environment but also humanity, and how they are just so important to the whole entire ecosystem. And I think he just really wanted to show that to everyone, and he really just, and everyone who works at Panthera just really helped and like really showed his vision and helped him like accomplish that as well.
That's definitely a good point. And you mentioned before the Jaguar Corridor. For those of you who haven't heard of the Jaguar Corridor and the initiative behind it, it's absolutely brilliant, if I can say. Alan and a team of scientists and organizations and governments across the Americas came together with this idea that there are pockets of jaguar populations, and then there needs to be habitat to connect them. So the whole initiative is to create one long connection from Mexico to Argentina to connect jaguars, because they are genetically one species. And like you said, Alana, protecting the jaguars by protecting this habitat also ensures biodiversity, ensures ecosystem services for communities. And it's just such a great idea that I think is, when I first started at Panthera, I was so excited to learn about and to promote. Is it fair to say, this might be a little subjective, is it fair to say that jaguars were your dad's favorite cat? Or maybe you didn't have a favorite?
No, for sure. I think, no, I definitely know, because I always asked him that, and he would always say, yeah, jaguars, especially with that. He would sometimes mention the story in interviews, but how he was following a jaguar, and that the jaguar actually ended up following him, and that was I mean, I don't know if many of you know that story, but it's a very interesting story.
Right. I mean, jaguars are the first big cat that he ever worked with. So I think that they honestly have a special place in his heart as well as ours. So.
Absolutely. Do you guys have a favorite wildcat?
Well, I don't want to be like like cliche, but the jaguar.
Jaguar, yeah.
Honestly, I really like the ocelot, I gotta say. The
A lot.
ocelot and the snow leopard are kind of my top two.
It's hard to pick. I mean, I think I love all 40 of them, but
I mean, if I could choose that as my first answer, then I would, all 40 of them.
all 40.
Yeah.
Well, you could say that. Because that's Panthera's mission, right? All 40 species. Because a lot of times the 33 species of small cat, and frankly, even some of the big cats don't get the conservation attention that they deserve. And that's why Panthera's Small Cats program is another genius initiative that's really important to the conservation of not just those species, but the unique wildlife, the wild places where they live across the world.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's so important that Panthera is showcasing all these different kinds of big cats and really the variety. That's not just, of course, tigers, jaguars, and cheetahs matter, but there's so much variety to how many big cats there are in the world, and just showcasing that either like on social media and showing people that there's so many, and that we also need to look at the smaller big cats, I guess you could say, as well.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So, do you have any specific memories or stories that you want to share with our audience today?
Yeah, I guess I can go first. Well, I guess kind of how me and Alana's father just endowed us with this love of nature and wildlife, and it's kind of hard to like pinpoint one memory like in how he did that, but he just always took us out like into the woods and always like kept us around like animals and nature, and it's so hard to give one memory of that, but like I just want to say the thing that he did give us like from parent to child is this kind of ingrained like inherent love of nature, and like no matter like what changes like with me or Alana, that's always still like present. And I like remember like us hiking into the woods together, and he'd make me look around and see like the deer and see the leaves and see the trees. We were like, this is like where you live, like this is the environment that you live in, like that we need to protect it. Like it's not just the big cats, it's also everything else around us. Like
That's very beautiful.
Yeah, I was just going to say, going off of that kind of what Alex was saying, was that I think there's one specific memory. He would always take us on trips, like Alex said, on nature trips. And there's one memory when we went kayaking with, or canoeing with my dog, and it was just me, my dad, and my dog. And we were going, and I was talking a lot, and I was like, wow, this nature's so pretty. Look at all these spiders, these fish, these turtles. And I kept talking about how pretty it was. He's like, shh, can you be quiet for a second? And I said, what? Like, why do you want me to be quiet? He's like, listen. And then I was quiet, and then I was trying to listen. I was like, I don't hear anything. Like, what am I listening for? He's like, did you hear that? Like, the rustling of the leaves, like the wind, I was like, oh, that's a nice sound. And he's like, yeah, maybe you should be a little more quiet so you can hear that sound. I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. And so I think that's just a funny memory. But he always would just remind me that, I mean, even the smallest of insects, or like I guess other people might call these animals or insects minute because they're not right in our face, or we don't always look for them, but they're still important to the ecosystem. And I feel that he would always emphasize the impact that these small insects, whether the animals were big or small, that they always had a large impact on the environment around them and the biodiversity, and how biodiversity is so important to not only the environment that they live in, but also how that environment affects how we live as well.
Yeah, I don't
Absolutely.
think me and Alana will never not love nature just because like of how much he's given to us in terms of like understanding wildlife and understanding like the importance of sustaining and preserving nature.
That's such a beautiful gift to share. And I think he shared that with everybody who supports Panthera just because his vision and his passion is really what made us what we are. And you combine that with the brilliant scientists and the people who work behind the scenes on the ground, and then all of our supporters. And that's why Panthera is so great. Um, I hope that he would be proud where we are today. I think he would.
I agree. I think he would be like astonished at like the leaps and bounds that Panthera's has made in terms of protecting wildlife around the globe.
I would say he would be very proud of everyone who works at Panthera. Not only that, but with the people who don't even work at Panthera and who are also people who are inspired by my father. He would be so proud of those people as well, furthering his initiative. And he always emphasized how he wanted to inspire and lead on future generations, which many of you guys who are watching probably, either whether conservation is your interest or any of those topics, or whether Panthera is your interest, or anything that you do to help conservation wildlife, whether that be specific with big cats or just on a broader scale with the environment. He would be very proud of everyone, not only contributing to that, but also to everyone at Panthera who set that initiative as well.
That's very well said. And I know you're both young, but do you have advice that you would give for people who say they want to be just like your dad and do just what he does or what he did?
Yeah, I guess advice condensed into 60 seconds. All right.
Fair
Well,
enough.
I guess the one thing I would say is don't become disillusioned, don't become disenchanted.
Okay.
Like it's a cruel world out there, like which I think all of us eventually realize like in the process of our life. But the most important thing is to keep that passion like and fuel that passion inside of you that makes you want to save the wildlife on this planet. How you see nature and animals out there like every day, or maybe not even every day, but you still feel a need to protect them because they are voiceless, like, and we are we are their only hope essentially in terms of them surviving for the next generations, for the next 50 generations. And it might seem rough and it might seem hopeless at times, but you cannot give up in your mind, because once that light goes out, it's a lot harder to bring that spark back than if you just keep on doing that activism, keep on like trying to protect the wildlife that we have all around us.
Yeah,
That was wonderful.
I was just going to say, going off of that, I think one main thing that I would say to everyone who's watching, or anyone who will be watching this, is don't become complacent. I think that, and I really think it's important to keep in mind that whether you feel you don't have to make a company, or you don't have to build this whole, um, it can seem daunting at first, thinking about how you can help save these big cats. But I really think that even some small act, or just not becoming complacent and doing what you can, whether it's small or big, that will help in the grand scheme of things continue conservation. And like Alex said, with that spark that you have, follow your passion and follow what you believe in, and we're here on this earth because of them. It might seem like that we're controlling them, and like but really we live in this world with them. No, and it's our responsibility that we take the initiative to protect these species, because a lot of things that humans have done have actually caused endangerment to these specific species, especially big cats, with deforestation and pollution and other things. And it's because of that, it's really in our hands and our responsibility to, like I said, take that initiative, whether that be small or big, and use your passion to help conserve conserve the environment and help save big cats.
Right.
That's so true. That's a message that we're always trying to press, is that we are not apart from nature, we are a part of it. Even though it
Right.
might seem like we are above it in some ways, that's what gives us the responsibility to, as he has always said, be a voice for the voiceless. Because
Right.
they can't tell us what they need, but that's why our scientists study them, and that's why we have to do what we can to protect them and, like you said, to reverse some of the damage that we've done.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I think that you guys are the perfect example of how another thing that everybody can do to help wildcats, to help the planet, and that is to spread the love and the respect and the non-complacency to our family, to our friends, to other people, and be essentially an ambassador. And that's what you guys are doing just by doing this video. You're an ambassador for wildcats. Anybody who likes our posts, who educates their friends on why they shouldn't buy wildcat parts, who makes the choice to be more sustainable, all of these things, all of these decisions help you be a wildcat ambassador, and that helps, like you said, every small thing adds together. And I think together we really can save these species, and we can save the wild places where they live.
Yes, even, and I know I said that small acts will impact on a grander scale, and it might seem a little silly at first that, oh well, what can me telling one of my parents that you shouldn't buy big cat parts, you shouldn't exploit these big cats for entertainment purposes, and really, but it really does make a difference, because then either your parents or your friend, whether you're sharing these posts or telling this advice to different people, the word will spread, and more people will become aware of not only the problem, but also more people will become activists for this and also help spread the word. And I think that will also cause other people to, make bigger steps. And really, it does make a difference. So keep on doing that activism, and keep on sharing posts and liking Panthera Cat's posts and sharing them with your family, because it really does help.
Yeah. I mean, like it's always said, one big step is built on the backs of a million tiny steps. You can't have these grand, huge conservation efforts without these grassroots types of steps needed to be taken.
That's so true. And for those of you watching who want to know how you can get more involved, we are currently running our end of year campaign, and we have created this beautiful video that looks back on the last 15 years, because it is our 15th anniversary in 2021, with just a handful of some of the amazing accomplishments we've had. So if you go to panthera.org, you'll see right on the front page, you can watch the video, you can learn about some of our activities, you can learn anything you want about what we do and see how you can get involved, and that's panthera.org, or you can go there, take a look at our Instagram, our Facebook, and get a feel for what we do. But we welcome everyone to join the pride, as corny as that sounds. Do you guys have any last remarks you want to add?
I would say that I just want to thank everyone, especially even if you're not watching this right now, anyone who was inspired by my dad, or even taught by my dad, or saw my dad, or even just was inspired by his work. Thank you for doing that and keeping his legacy alive, and also just being inspired. I think that was what he really wanted to do in the younger generation, and that to inspire younger generations, like I said, to live on his legacy and to do your part in saving these big cats, because we need them.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, thank you all for being here, and thank you for everything that you do. And I guess my last parting word is just going to be a reiteration, is just continue like those conservation efforts, continue doing what you're doing, like do not let that passion die out, because uh, we are the voice for the voiceless, and we need to continue doing what we're doing if we want to see big cats in the future.
Thank you. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us today. We are beyond honored and blessed to have you on here. Thank you to everyone who's watching and who continues to support us. Together, we are keeping Alan's vision and his legacy alive, and we're very proud and honored to do so.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you
It was
so
a pleasure.
much.
Well, so I'll say goodnight now and just remind everyone to tune in next time to Panthera TV Live.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.
Bye.